Hey guys, hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to go over a few things, a few tips and tricks you can use to make the most out of the Linktify AI system. So to begin with, we want to go over the setup with your leads, how you can scrape the leads that actually get responses, and how to create a system that is essentially an autopilot call booking system that will automatically book calls every week 24/7 without you even needing to look at your inbox. That's how good it can really get, okay? You can get to the point where you don't even need to look at your inbox. You'll need to go on the actual platform. Your calendar will get booked. Just today, for example, we just started outreach a few days ago. We're already booking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calls just this week alone. And we're doing that through our system, through our AI Copilot system. And we haven't even needed to look at our tool. We haven't had to hop on the tool. It's been done with the agents, the auto scheduler. Everything is being done through the platform without us having to touch it, right? And it's probably one of the best LinkedIn outreach platforms in the past 20 years, if I'm honest with you, we've built, just because of how autopilot it really is. Okay, it's the whole end-to-end lead generation, LinkedIn lead generation, done completely automatically. I've sent you some videos, I've created some videos showing you how to set up the scheduler and how to scrape lead lists. Okay, now the reason this is so autopilot is because you're able to scrape signals, and these signals come in every single day, and these signals get sent to your campaigns through something called an auto ad. What is an auto ad? Well, in the first video or second video, I've already explained auto ad is essentially when you import from a lead list and you enable this filter right here, and this will automatically add the leads from your lead list into here. Okay, and why is this so useful? Because when you're running a lead agency, you don't want to keep scraping new leads, deduplicating lead lists, the leads from what you've already reached out to, and continuously having to manage hundreds of different lead lists, update the campaign to get the new leads, and it's just all a hassle and a headache that is really not worth your time. It's really not worth doing this stuff, and we don't need to do this anymore. So we've implemented a very simple feature that lets you get away with the hassle. So every time this is my number one tip, is every time you're creating a campaign, please do enable this specific feature. So the next tip that I have to create an autopilot LinkedIn outbound campaign is to use our scheduler. Now, what is a scheduler? What does it actually mean? Well, to keep it short, sweet, and simple, it's a system that lets you book calls on autopilot. This is where the magic can really happen. Okay, you're running LinkedIn outbound campaigns. One important strategy that people always miss out on is following up with leads that are interested, right? So these leads, they are interested. They just don't have time to book the call. They may forget to even book this call. For example, I sent him a link. He didn't respond the first time. When I followed up, he actually ended up booking that call. So we made it very simple for you to set up a auto responder and a lead reactivation system that follows up with leads that you send your call booking link to. We made a very simple onboarding process on the third video on how to use the scheduler to reactivate leads. So I always suggest, if you want to actually, not just reach out to leads, but get them to book calls and get them to actually, look at what you've sent them, so you can actually book that, get them on a calendar. This is the most important thing about lead generation, is nurturing them and following up with them. Follow-up is persistence is what matters really at the end of the day. So if a lead is interested and he showed interest but he hasn't booked the call, it's your duty to follow up with that person. Now, no one has time to, in their calendar, to check the Unibox end, and it just requires so much focus to do this, because you're going to be like, okay, you have to set these tags up, and you have to, filter out all these different leads and then check if someone's interested or someone's not interested. Too much mental effort. So whenever you are using our tool, we highly recommend you set up a scheduler. And in the prompt itself, when you create the scheduler, you always have to instruct the AI to use the tag tool to tag leads that are interested, tag leads who have shown no interest, or tag leads that need more, require more information. Okay. So when you're setting up these sequences of lead reactivation, it's very important that you instruct the AI how to tag, because this would be your automated CRM system done in the quickest, simplest way possible. And the filters that we've enabled here are very, very specific: include tags and exclude tags. So every time you ask the AI to, for example, mark it as cold, you always want to put cold in the exclude tags for whenever you set the schedules. And if you ask the AI to mark it as lead, you definitely need to ask the AI to mark interested leads with a lead tag, so that you know after following up multiple times, or after you respond to an unread lead, i.e. this is an autoresponder, you want to make sure the AI actually marks it as lead, so that when you create another schedule and it's filtered by, lead, it uses only the leads which have the lead tag. So I'm actually going to show you an example of a diagrammatic sequence of different parts taken when you set up these different schedules. So for the autoresponder, we usually do a unread only, and we include these tags as well as excluding these tags. And in the response, you want to basically put in mark as lead as replied, okay? And what that will do is it will only use the replied leads to follow up with, okay? So the follow-up one is going to be when the AI only filters out, it's actually not even the AI filtering out, this is automatic. It will only filter out the replied leads, as you can see, included, replied, or no response. Okay, I would actually not do no response, I would do just replied, but this is also okay. And exclude follow-up once sent and closed. Alright, as you can see here, it's asked the AI to send, when you followed up, please mark it as follow-up once sent. So when you create the third schedule, it will only filter by follow-up once sent, and then it will exclude follow-up 2 sent, and of course it will only include follow-up 1 sent. So it doesn't follow up with leads that have already followed up. So as you can see, there is a few missing pieces in this as well. You do need to ask each one that if the individual is closed, please mark them as closed. So for each of these, you would add that one step as well. If the individual is not interested, mark them as cold, etc. So I would also add this in the prompt, so you can get the most out of these AI prompts. In the future, we will add template to these auto schedulers so that you don't have to set it up yourself. All right, awesome. So once you've kind of set up your schedules, you will start having leads come in automatically. You will start having leads book calls on your behalf automatically. But it's very important, this part is setting up your business profile. Now, what is your business profile? We went over this in video 2. I'm going to go over it in more in depth because I think this is actually extremely important. So when you set up your business profile, this is how you can tell your AI to respond in the way that you need it to respond. Follow specific hard rules so it doesn't go drifting away into a direction you don't want it to go, and so that it uses your response methodology. How do I use each bit? So to begin with, you can set your tone: conversational, casual, professional, formal. I usually recommend conversational. These are defaults. I usually stick with the defaults. I don't go above it. How should the AI respond? Get to the point quickly. This is kind of important because the AI will try to say things that are pointless, time wasting. Value focused is obviously just providing as much value as possible. And then here is where you want to provide your example messages. We've only limited to 1,000 because if you provide too much context, it will try to use some of that context. So you just want to give kind of like a meta thinking approach to this. So quick question, this will only be used when you generate the campaigns with Arnie, which is another thing that we are still working on this beta right now, but it can actually generate campaigns instantly as well. And then response to interest is how you want to set up a sequence. So you want to actually set up an example sequence here underneath, where you provide a conversation that you have with your clients, and this conversation needs to be as informative as possible, because you want the AI to respond exactly in the way you expect it, in your writing style. So this part is very important. Follow-up message is going to be how you follow up. Now again, this is also extremely important. This methodology in here, you can add examples of how you expect to respond to a client. It's kind of similar to these bits, but these are more specific. In here, you can put in the meta thinking approach to how you expect it to respond. Don't use this word. Don't drift into the conversation. I would say, for example, one mistake the AI makes is, if the lead is interested, just send a call booking link. If the lead, another thing that I've noticed is that sometimes it will include product features like Arnie, which I don't really want it to include, so I'd remove that. Let's just say something like don't be too verbose and don't use jargons, because I like to use jargon unnecessarily. Another thing I would add is, based on the conversations that I've seen with the clients, is I'd say be straight to the point. Don't add any fluff. Don't be salesy. There we go. So these are kind of like small little things that I just add because, you know, you want to basically make sure that this AI model is just not doing things that it shouldn't be doing. Okay, so you've got to fill this up with as much information as possible. And then these are scenario specific examples that you usually go through. For example, when nurturing, warm lead but not ready. This is good for lead reactivation. When they showed interest but didn't book, again, lead reactivation. Conversation goes off topic. This is for responding to the lead, so the autoresponder. And this is when they give a minimal response. Hard rules, again, topic, the goal is to book a call with the lead. No, it just depends. So what you want to do is, for now at least, we don't have a simulate conversation where it simulates the conversation. We will have that very soon. But for now, you just want to look at the conversations that you have with the AI has with the clients. What do you notice that is kind of weird and risque? Like, what the heck? Why is it saying that? You can add that into the hard rules. And once you've done that, you save the changes. Now, ICP, I've already gone over this in the second video, but I'll go over it one more time because I think it's very important. Okay. If I go here, my lead list, I have a bunch of leads here that have been rated. They've been rated either high, medium, or low, depending on the lead itself. So go here. As you can see, the ICP score. How does the ICP scoring mechanism actually work? Again, it uses all the information in your ICP tab. Okay, and the more information you provide that's relevant, and the more narrow it is, the better the AI will perform. Okay, I actually advise you to take your time with this, right? Because especially with intent signals, you need to add as many keywords that might appear in the description in their recent activity. Because remember, we are scraping so much information here. We're scraping the recent activity. I'll just show you. We are scraping the recent activity. Well, not here actually. Let me go here. I think this one. Yeah, there we go. We're scraping the recent activity. We're scraping the engagement type, company domain, reaction. If I actually click on any of these, it'll give an expanded overview. All right. And there's so many different keywords that might appear here. In the recent activity, for example, this individual may say specific keywords in their recent activity that show that this is definitely a lead. I mean, let me just go over one example here. Let's just see here. This actually doesn't have a lot of leads, so we can't go over this. Let's go over this one. So let's find a lead that's very high. Yeah, this one. All right. So this one was marked as high. And if you actually click on this button right here, it will tell you why they marked it as high. So this is a founder with company size 1, a small agency suggesting interest in lead generation. Now, how did it get this information? It used this information right here, which is literally build lead ready websites, and it uses this information here as well as this information here. So it only marks medium or high based on their intent, based on the engagement they have with a post or their recent activity or their company description. So you're sending out as much information as possible to really mark these leads as high or low as possible, so you're not reaching out to people like this, for example, which is a low lead because for some reason, no clear role, company size, industry, location is US, which is target job, very weak intent signals. Perfect, it's actually open to work. We don't want people to open to work. So this is medium, and this is actually very accurate from what we've seen, but it gets more accurate the more information and the more narrow you make the ICP filter. So definitely focus on making this as good as possible, spending a bit of time into this so that the system just works on itself. Okay. Now the last thing I want to go over is gonna be the pacing. Alright, the pacing is very important. Whenever you rent out accounts from us, doesn't matter if you rent them out from us or you load your own accounts, you want to manage your pacing. Okay, so if I go here, if I just click on an account here, for example, I have this button here that says manage pacing. How do you manage the pacing? Good question. Very simple. When you click on this button, you want to press enable warm-up mode, and what you want to do is you want to set this in a way that makes sense. So how does this actually work? Well, 50 will be the first week's number of invites, 100 will be the second week, 150 third week, 200 fourth week. When you set it up in this fashion, the number of invites being sent every single day will gradually ramp up. This is very important if you are, for example, sending out invites to individuals and you don't want these accounts to get restricted or limited because you've just gone crazy with the pacing. And this is how you set that up. Okay. Now, the last thing that you want to go over is going to be the actual your tagging system. So it really depends on whether you want to set up an autoresponder or not. Alright, so if you want to set up an autoresponder, you don't necessarily need to do this, but if you just want to set up lead reactivation, I suggest that every time you manually respond to an interested lead, just mark it as lead, and then you can set up the autoresponder to only follow up with leads that are interested, but not respond to leads that have read your message and have replied. Okay, so yeah, this is how I do it. Just mark it as lead and just set up lead reactivation in the scheduler. Those are some of the basic points I'm going to go over in this video that you can set up easily to make sure that you have everything formatted in a way that will generate you leads. So If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to help.